Hello, everybody, on this glorious Friday.
Welcome to another episode of, what are we calling it?
Fridays with Franco.
James said it better, so I won't even attempt.
How is everybody doing out there?
Hopefully everybody's doing good. We're going to be doing another episode where we talk about a particular topic, and today's topic is going to be regarding stroke and throw. So we'll go into that topic. I'm going to kind of go on a rant about my views and thoughts on stroke and throw on rotary. And if you guys have any questions relating to that, please ask, because we're going to go deep with this topic. It's kind of a confusing one, especially for those of you that maybe just started tattooing in the last 3 to 5 years and whatnot. The first most important thing to know about stroke is you need to know why you like certain strokes. You don't ever want to be in a situation where you just say to yourself, I like this machine. You know, it could be like a V6 4.2, and you like that machine, and then you use maybe a different brand of machine, 3.5, and you don't really like it, and you think it's the company or whatnot. It might be the stroke. That could be the difference of you liking the machine or not. And when it's paired the right way with motor torque, now you're talking infinite possibilities. So when it comes to stroke, there's a few different ones that people are offering. You got some companies that are offering 2.5. I'll hold my opinions on that. We got 3.2, 3.5. Those are kind of the same, virtually, fractionally the same. And then you got 4.0, 4.2, and every now and then a crazy man comes out with 5.0 stroke. Why all the strokes? Do they all matter? Yes, of course they do. They do matter. They do. I'll tell you why. Stay tuned. Okay, we're back. Why do they matter? Why do strokes matter? Well, they matter because they hit the skin different. And if they hit the skin different, you're going to feel it differently. It's going to your tattoos are going to come out differently. If you're trying to shade like a really smooth black and gray piece versus a hardcore traditional eagle that's just blasted in, 9-round liner, 7 mag, you're going to need the right tool for the right job. And it's not so much about getting it done quicker, but hey, there's nothing wrong with that, right? Like if you can get the job done quicker and not lose any quality, sometimes you're a machine away from that possibility to achieve that. Sometimes you will do a piece and you want a machine that's more forgivable. What do I mean by forgivable? Say you're building up your tones, you're doing a nice portrait, and you only have, a couple of chances to really nail it. I mean, you don't want to whip it too much and beat up the skin, and then they come back healing traumatic. So having the right stroke to do a nice soft David Vega cheek, that nice gray, that mid-tone, it so perfectly goes right into the skin tone, allowing for a place to do white when you're all done. That all matters what stroke you have. We'll touch on the machine topic too, but when I say machines, we're talking in particularly about the torque. The torque is everything. Now, I explain this to people, so you may or may not have heard this before, but I use the analogy of a softball player. Hopefully you guys have seen some softball games at least once in your life to see how they pitch. They do an underhand throw, right? So if you get a girl or a guy, a softball pitcher, and they're throwing a ball, and let's just say their arms rotating around, let's just say 10 miles an hour, okay? One person has a very long arm, the other person has a short arm, but they're going to be going the same speed. 10 miles an hour is that rotation of the hand, of the arm, and they let go of the ball. The longer arm's going to go faster because it's got more inertia built up. It's got more energy built up. That longer throw is building. It's kind of like, those what were those things called, James, in the park when you sit on the edge of it and you would spin around? And if you were closest to the edge, you would fall off, but if you were closest to the center, it was a little easier. Mm-hmm. So there's more velocity. There's more velocity built up, inertia built up. And I don't want to use these technical terms and skip over them without identifying what they are. So inertia is basically built up energy, right? So the very outside of the perimeter has more power. So when you're talking about a 4.2 stroke, it's a bigger rotation. 3.5 is a smaller rotation. 2.5 is a smaller rotation. So the hit is going to be different. The 4.2 is going to hit harder. 3.5 less. 2.5 less. Now I don't like 2.5 strokes. I don't like 2mm strokes. And the reason why is they snag the skin. How many of you guys know about that problem? You don't even know. And again, it goes back to I feel it's my responsibility as a machine maker to educate the audience on what machines are made of, how are they made, what does a motor do, how does it work, how does stroke work. I really want you guys to know, because the more empowerment you have and the more knowledge you have on machines, the more of the reasons why you like the wand packer, and you know that it has a 4.2 stroke paired with a powerful motor. The more you know that, it makes, because look, let's face it, we love buying machines. We might release another machine. You might see another company release a machine, and you want to collect that one. I know how it is, right? We're artists. We like to collect different things, but it's my responsibility to make sure you pick the right one. Give you an example. You may not like 3.5 strokes. Right, James? There's a couple people that 4.2 is all they use.
That seems to be the hitter right there. That's the magical one. But
and we're going to talk about that too. Oh shit! What did I do that thing? Okay, this is my little note taker right here. But so let's just say like you love Bishop, and you know you really want to know about these machines, and you want to get a different brand because they just released a cool new machine, and you know, and they only offer it in a 3.5 stroke. You may say, hey, you know what? I'm not going to waste any money because I'm a 4.2 guy. I'm a 4.2, 5.0 person. So I want you guys to know why you like this stroke. So going back to the explanation of the difference of them and which ones hit harder, each motor has an RPM built into it. And that's one of the reasons why people love rotaries over coil. For example, one of our motors is a 9-volt motor. It's a 9-volt nominal motor. That means, what does nominal mean? Nominal means, hey, look, if you buy a car that has, you know, a certain amount of horsepower, it doesn't have more or less. It comes with whatever horsepower that is. So 9-volt nominal means it's a 9-volt winding. It's the way they wrap the coils inside. What that means is that's sort of the baseline voltage that is linked up to the data sheet. So when you look at the data sheet and it says RPMs are 7,600, it's always going to be at whatever motor that nominal speed is. So for example, let's talk about our Phantom and Shader wand. They house the 2607 motor that's a 9-volt nominal motor. It's got a built-in amount of torque. It's got a built-in amount of RPMs. It spins at around 7,900 RPMs at 9 volts. So when you take that RPM and you pair it with a 3.5 stroke, you're going to be able to do a lot of smooth shading, okay? But I want you to know that it's a combination of a 3.5 stroke, so it doesn't have too much power, and it's going around 7,900 rounds per minute, so it's not too traumatic on the skin. And then you're pairing it with a motor that's not super strong. It's still quite strong, but it's not like our 2610 brushless motor and the Packer and liner, and we'll get to those later too. So that's generally the thought behind stroke. When it comes to throw, that's completely different. And I'll say this because a lot of people, we get so many questions, James. And look, there's no such thing as a dumb question.
Never.
Look, I started tattooing, and there was tons of things I didn't know. When I started building machines, there was a lot I didn't know about motors. So there's no such thing as a dumb question. We get a lot of questions that tell us that people don't know the difference between stroke and throw. And so they will mislabel it. And so throw simply means how long is that needle coming out of the tube. So if you got a 4.2 stroke and it's moving up and down vertically 4.2 millimeters, and you pull the tube back, and I call it riding the needle. Now the needle's coming out further. The stroke is still 4.2. The power that belongs to the 4.2 mixed with the 7,900 RPM motor, that doesn't change, right? That doesn't change. It's just a throw. Why do some people have longer throws and short throws? Some people like to work off the needle. I'm one of them. A lot of black and gray fine line guys love to work off the needle. I mean, that needle's so hanging out so far, and they're just working on that needle. If it's too far, it won't get the ink flow. We know that problem. If it's too much inside the tube, sometimes it can blob ink on the skin. A lot of times people will I call it training wheels. So they'll barely protrude that needle out of the tube, like a line, in particularly liners. And then what they'll do is they'll put that whole needle on the skin to get that line. And so they might hang it out like 0.5 millimeter. Yeah, look, come over here, James. Come on over here, James.
Come on down. What are we doing here?
Okay, so there we go. So I like to hang it out pretty long. I don't know if you guys can see that. Let's see over here. Get a little black background.
A little bit more detail in here. All right.
There we go. So when you hang the needle out long, it's a great way to have control, and that's the reason why people ride the tip.
There we go.
When it's barely hanging out, and if you can't see it, sorry guys, the needle barely comes out. A lot of people will basically tattoo, and they'll press the cartridge all the way to the skin, and they'll get their lines like that. Now, that works, but it's a bad habit that I would talk you out of. I would start to learn to work off the tip, because when you do that, there's more sensitivity. You can pull crisper lines. You have more control. This is more sort of the shotgun method. You set your throw to be maybe 0.5 millimeter, and you bury it, and you just drag it. It's better to have control. So if you're doing that, I would advise you to try to start riding the tip of the needle to get your perfect line. It's a delicate balance, and there's lots of theories that go behind that we can get into. But before I go into the 4.2 and 5.0 stroke, let's answer a couple questions, James.
Okay, well, let's start here. Jace Castillo from Texas just got her Packer wand, and they're excited, but they want to know, as you were just talking about with the adjustment of the needle depth, it seems like it comes out too far. Now, could that be a cartridge issue?
Good question. Okay, so come on back here, James. Come on back. We're going to explain a couple things over here. So, here's what we got. Let me... power
up. One battery that's dead.
Hold up, y'all. Let me get the...
And hey guys, so we're addressing the topic of stroke versus throw, but you guys get your questions ready or start submitting them now. We're going to be going live with some question and answering.
And they don't necessarily have to be related to stroke and throw. I'm answering any questions. This is more the topic. So each week that we do this, we'll come up with a topic that we think answers questions that a lot of people have. Okay, so a lot of people that have purchased our machines, our wand, it comes obviously with the grip all the way turned up. Now, again, there's no such thing as a dumb question, but you would be surprised at how many people will get this machine, plug it in, and they'll say, hey, the throw is way too long. Okay, so let me explain what's going on. When we sell the machine, it has adjustable stroke. It has adjustable stroke. Most of you know what the adjustable stroke means, but there's a lot of people that are transitioning from coils and other machines that didn't have adjustable stroke. So that means you can choose to adjust it. So sometimes people will call us up and say, hey, I got a new machine from you, a new wand, and it hangs out way too far. I don't tattoo like that. And I say, okay, look, the grip, you can spin it. You can spin it. And they'll say like, oh, crap. It was that easy? All right, question done. I got it. I'm going to go tattoo. So you can adjust it. Most of the pen machines that are on the market are fully adjustable, not just Bishops. But like I said, there's people out there that don't do that. They don't know that. So hopefully that answers your question on that part. And then from there, you can just pretty much adjust it from 0 to 6 millimeters, which is a great range. Keep in mind there's an issue that we've been dealing with as machine makers and product makers, especially with cartridges. There's so many cartridges on the market. You would think that there would be a standard. There's kind of a standard in tubes. Like everybody generally makes the neck of the tubes a certain diameter. But you would think in the cartridge world there's standards, like a standard length of the needle, standard length of the plunger bar, but that's not the case. This isn't to talk bad about any particular brand, but some brands have longer cartridges. They're just longer. That's the case with Quadrant. That's probably one of the biggest questions we got, so I'll answer that question. So for some reason, the Quadrant cartridges are about 3 to 4 millimeters longer than the Cheyenne, than ours, than almost all the ones on the market. So imagine a Quadrant needle on this machine. It's going to be hanging way too far out. In fact, when you start to release it and get that throw to go back into the tube, it's still at some point too long. It works great for most tattoo artists, but every now and then you get someone that just barely wants that needle to hang out of the tube. And on the Quadrant needles and the wand, and not even just the wand. There's plenty of other machines out there that run into that same issue. It's my desire that everybody uses the best that you guys like. It's my desire that if you're going to use a Bishop product, whether it be our VINCI cartridges or the Inkies or Nocturnal, it's my goal to try to make the best product, Carlos Torres included. We get together and hammer out designs and stuff, and we're pretty picky. But at the end of the day, it's about you guys and girls learning to tattoo, not learning to tattoo, but learning products, learning new products with tattooing, and discovering which ones you like, which ones work for you, which ones you feel has a better quality. So that's kind of an issue with the Quadrant cartridges and the wand machines. Any other questions, James?
Yeah, actually, we've got one from Cristiano Pina, is asking, as far as for 3RL line work, what would you recommend as far as the wand and voltage? Like, is there a specific voltage to get that nice clean stippling and
we call it brapping around here, BRAPPING, brap, because that's how it sounds. Why do I say that? Am I trying to be silly? Well, it does make that kind of sound, and that sound is very important. It's we all know that, like, the feeling of our hands on the skin helps us guide whether going too deep or not deep enough. That noise on 3RL work, like one of our favorites is Dimitri Troshin.
Absolutely.
Then we got some of our other killers out there. We got Alex Sorsa. There's some really good guys out there doing 3RL work. So to answer your question, you want to use a longer stroke. You can do it with a 3.5, but a longer stroke allows more time in between each penetration. It's a longer spin. So if you turn your voltage down, let's just say you're using the Packer, it's generally the favored machine for 3RL work because it's got a powerful motor. It's a 4.2 stroke, right? And you can still turn the voltage way down and still have a lot of power. So guys are putting it at like 5. I've even seen 5, like 5 volts. It's like really low, and it just makes that lovely sound. James, can you do it for us?
Brrrah, brrrah, brrrah.
Okay, knock it off. Wait, one more time.
Motorcycle. Brrrah.
So that's the sound you want. You really want to tune your ear to that sound. It's weird because you can tell that it's layering perfectly, and then at that point, you got the space in between because it's got a 4.2 stroke. You got your powerful motor, and you got your voltage turned down to where there's lots of space. Not lots of space in between the dots, but when you have enough space, you begin to layer them. And that's how you, the goal for 3RL people is, how can I make this tattoo the smoothest, right? The smoothest without seeing too many track lines. I call them track lines. Without too many misplaced dots. Like, you want the dots to make sense. So when you have a fast machine and it's 3.5, there's no space in between a hit. It's like a razor blade. It's just kind of, it's like you're trying to do 3RL work, but it's just lining. You're getting a bunch of lines. So it's important to turn your volume down, turn the voltage down, use a powerful motor, use a 4.2 stroke. There's people that use our 5.0 wands for it as well.
Yeah.
That's more, I mean, I've seen people do that. Troshin tried that. He ended up, I think, going back to the 4.2. It was almost a little too powerful,
Mm-hmm.
and he's doing more fine work. I think the 5.0 would be good for like 5 RL work if you're doing like mandalas and sort of like sacred geometry, that sort of effect. You're not so much paying attention to a 3 RL size dot. You can go for a bigger one. 5.0 is good for that. Good for that. So hopefully that answered your question. If you guys have any other questions that relate to any questions we answer and we didn't have the answer that fit you, let us know. James, what do we got?
Let's see. Next one, we've got Martin Tay checking in. Actually, he's looking, with the wand, what is the best voltage that you would want to run for color realism? So getting that packing, what do you need to get for that saturation?
So people think if you have a machine that's too powerful that it's not good for color realism. When, like, Nico would argue that, right? Like, he has a motor that's powerful. He's a packer, 4.2 even. The thing is when you pack the color in, if you can get it to go in one pass, generally, like when you're layering like a dark green or a lighter green to a mid-tone green to a darker green, when you can do that and you can get it in one pass without having to scrub the skin like the coil days and using a weaker maybe motor, you actually are doing less trauma to the skin. So you're able to precisely put that information in with just 1 or 2 passes. So it builds up really fast. I mean, a lot of times these guys are saying like, man, I can't charge by the hour anymore. Like, I'm getting these realistic color pieces done super fast, and they're healing really good. And yeah, it's because 4.2 stroke, not having the machine too high. That's kind of like, it becomes too powerful. It becomes too saturating. Portrait color work is different than traditional color work. Traditional color work, you'll just lay it in. Color work that's portrait related, you have to layer a bunch of tones. So you're not just filling an area in with one solid red. You might be filling that same area in with 3 different gradients of red. So now you're traumatizing that skin 3 times. There's theories behind that, right? Nico is one of my favorites. Boris is one of my favorites. They just know how to work the skin to where they can do as many layers as they need, but still have it come back and heal perfect. 4.2 packer, in terms of my opinion on the wand. It also, if you're a V6 user, get a 4.2 V6. It'll behave the same way. And if you like phantoms, get a 4.2. It's got the power for it. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question.
All right, we've got Stephen O'Connor's asking. His question is the liner wand good for black work packing? Now, what would be the difference if you're working black and say you're going saturation for the packer versus the liner?
Okay, so just saturation basically, right? How do you so the question overall is, how do you do the best black saturation?
Yes. So, but he's asking in particular the liner.
Yeah.
Is that best for black work packing, or would you?
So I would say you don't need it. It's powerful. Like if you're hunting for deer, don't take an AK-47. You know, I would suggest for black packing on black work, use a 4.2 packer. We call it the packer because it packs the ink in quickly, especially black because black's a thin pigment. But pack it in. 5.0 is kind of overkill. Unless you really know what you're doing, you could actually terrorize the skin. So can it be done with the packer? Yep, for sure. But you always want a little forgiveness with your machines. You don't always want to have to rely on you having to be on your triple platinum A game. You want to leave a little room for, forgiveness, I call it. So packer on that one. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, I don't even know where to start, but you know how many questions we're getting about the battery pack.
Yes. Okay.
Is there any change since last Friday?
There's an update. You want me to read the update from the factory that's helping us out?
Let's make it Twitter confirmed, Franco.
Okay, Twitter confirmed. Let me go here into my trusty old phone here, and let me put in my passcode, because we all have a passcode, because we never know who wants to spy through your stuff, steal your identity.
Let's keep those pictures personal.
Man. Okay, fine.
But then there was last night.
Ooh, last night was sexy.
You were with some fun people last night. What were you up to yesterday?
Man, I was hanging out with a plethora of good souls.
We'll talk about that one later.
Yes. Primarily Risk, Bobby Tribal,
The man, the myth.
Big Bobby, he's also the man, the myth.
Esteban.
Mike Giant.
You're just some heavyweights last night.
Yeah,
Woo!
It was a good night.
Bet y'all had a great time.
It was good. Okay, so I'm going to read to you what the factory has told me recently. So there's such a thing called current, okay, and capacity and stability. You want this battery pack, any battery pack, to run stable, right? You don't want to dip 20, 40, 30%. Like, you want the stability on the draw to be like very stable. The capacity's got to be stable. People say, I got this power, battery pack and it fluctuates. That's because it's not stable. So that was kind of one of the last things we were tightening up. Ours was pretty stable, but we wanted to make it perfectly stable, and we measure it in percentage. So we did that, and we've got it done. It's completely done. And when I say it's done, we're talking about the last 5 prototype samples that have all these changes in them. Because look, we don't want to release as bad as you guys want it. Like I always say, who wants it better than anyone, James?
You.
I do, because I want to use it.
But you're not going to put out an inferior product.
Yeah, and as we start talking into topics, I love being transparent and authentic. It's tough running a business. You gotta rely on money. Like, no one loans us money. No banks don't give us money. It's a fine, delicate balance doing business. People look at Bishop and they think, man, it's a big company. I think we're a bigger brand than a bigger company that we are, because it's still a small family company. We care about all of our products. We would rather not put anything out unless it's going to be superior. It's going to be perfect. And look, guys, girls, you guys have bought our products since 2008. We have probably one of the lowest repair issues. If you guys have experienced our customer service, you know how dear to our hearts that is. It's number 1. We don't fuck around when it comes to customer service, do we, James?
Never, man. No. It's always about the experience.
And it goes back to artist-owned company, because I care. I care about what you think of me when I see you at a convention. I don't want to have to duck and feel like a dick because I didn't take care of a customer. So customer service has and always will be number 1 with Bishop. You can believe that, because we're real tattoo artists and we know what you're thinking. So this is the word from the factory. You guys ready?
Yes.
All right.
Drums, please.
Okay, so where the fuck is my battery pack? Do you not know that I will send all kinds of freaking different gangsters to your facility? Oh wait, shit, that's what I told them. Sorry, hold on. This is what they said after I told them that. Franco, we are so sorry. We did not want any problems with you or your crew. We are working overtime. We're working 26 hours a day to get this battery pack finished. That was after I told them what I told them. But in the real world, this is really what they told me. Franco, we have figured out the capacity percentage stability issue, and it has been updated. And we have updated the electrical circuit in the board, and no worries, it's done. We will send out the final 5 samples next week. Today's Friday, so next week could mean Monday through Friday. My reply to them was, next week is vague. Does that mean Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday? Don't go vague with me. Not when this topic is this hot, right? If you guys want vague answers, fuck no. So they replied back middle of the week, which means middle of the week, we hope. So we're going to get the samples back. We have 5 of them. They're the finished product, and all I have to do is try it, test it, hook it up. My electronics engineer will come down. We'll do what we do. We sing and dance and frolic around the factory, only when the results are what we want. And that's actually what we're hoping we can do. So we'll test everything out. So once we discover that it's good and there's no problems, then we will place the PO that we've already put out there, which is going to be about 1,000 pieces. What does that mean? 1,000 pieces. That means they may be gone in 24 hours.
So when we get them in, we'll have 1,000 units the first run to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, as these 1,000 pieces are put out into the market, we're going to order another 1,000. And you kind of have to test the market, right? Like we can't just come out with a new product and put out 10,000 of them, because if there's a problem, that's an expensive problem. Remember what I said earlier? We're a small company, so we're not looking for big problems like that.
Cut twice, measure once.
We've wasted tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars. It hurts, huh, James?
No, man, it's a tough one.
Ooh, yeah. So we don't want to do that. So we're going to release 1,000, test them out. The distributors won't even get them, just because we only want to give them the 100% confirmed. We're going to have another 1,000 being made, so I don't think we'll run into any problems. We've followed a strict guideline with these with the process in the making of this battery pack. So the next 1,000 will come out. Granted, there's no issues, because a lot of times it's a small fix. Then we turn on the big order. We're just going to keep getting them pumped out. So the good thing about this product is when it's in full production, we should not run out, because they're made on machines, they're assembled by hand, they're tested here in the facility in the United States. So we're putting our eyes on them and making sure that they are fitting with the Bishop brand name.
And the people are excited about that.
So I apologize for the wait. Nowadays, man, you can blame everything on COVID. So, but in this case, it really was COVID. It set us about 3 months behind.
Yeah, because we were right on schedule to get the prototypes right before this all broke down, right?
Yeah, there was a supply chain, like sometimes little parts come from different countries, and little tiny parts that you need to finish the product. Like even like the RCA connection, right? There was an issue. We had to wait for those. So that's the issue on the battery pack. So stay tuned.
All right. Our next question is from Jabari, Art Aches and Pains. He needs weight when he's pulling his lines. He needs weight when he's pulling lines. There's an issue with people with the weight of the wand.
Man, okay, you guys ready for a profound answer? Not a lot of people know this. I can attest to that for a fact, because every time I talk about this, people look at me like a deer in the headlights. It's kind of a theory that only like a machine builder would really understand, and a lot of seasoned tattoo artists. And I'm not saying we're better than anyone, because we're not. I'm just saying that along the 27 years that I've been tattooing and making machines, it took me probably 20 years to discover this. So I didn't even know about this for 2 decades. But I'll share it here with you now, live. Okay, you ready for this profound answer? People sometimes say, I don't know why I don't like this machine. I don't understand. I can't line with it. And what the reality is it's too light. I'll tell you what happens when you have a machine that's too light. When the needles come out, I'll use that analogy I did last week when I talked about laying on the bed of nails. So you're laying on a bed of like 100 nails, all spaced apart like ½ an inch, right?
Mm-hmm.
Versus 1 nail. If you lay on a bed of 1 nail, James, what's going to happen? You're getting a punctured lung.
Absolutely.
Right? But what happens if you lay on a bed of 100 nails?
Fall asleep.
No problem, no pain. It would probably feel good, like acupressure. So my point is, no pun intended, but my point is that the more needles you have, the more weight it needs to go in the skin. What do I mean by that? So let's compare a single needle all the way to like a 9-round liner. In that category, let's throw in like a 9 mag shader. You're dealing with 1 needle and about 7 to 9 needles. You're going to need more weight to get these to behave how you want. Sometimes a lighter machine can play into your favor if you're doing black and gray work and you want some forgiveness. That's what I call organic give, by the way. So when you hear me talk about organic give, it's really the weight of your hand. So how do we combat a machine that's too light? Okay, there's a couple ways. This is one of them. Come on over here, James. Let's talk about this. So, the 2 ways we combat a machine not being heavy enough. Okay. The first way is we push more into the skin. Now that requires technique. That requires technique that you have to gauge very carefully. All the skin tones change, so it's a tougher way to learn. If your machine, however, has a stainless steel tube, right? And we're about to release these stainless steel adjustable Arma grips. Check those out. New product alert. click, high end. Now this heavy machine, he would love. So if the machine's heavier, it's like more effortlessly going to jump off the skin. So what happens, James, see if you can come in here.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you have a light machine, and let's just say this is a 7 mag, right? And it comes out of the tube, it hits the skin, right? Now if the machine is light, it tends to bounce and jump off the skin.
Mm-hmm.
Fractionally, it's still going to go in, and it's still going to penetrate, it's still going to put ink in the skin, but it sort of jumped out of the skin because the machine was so light. But what happens if you put pressure on the machine? What happens if the machine weighs more, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then that needle comes out. When that needle comes out, instead of being able to just easily jump off the skin, it's got a heavy machine. And what I mean by heavy is not too heavy, but heavier. And so what happens is you can take the same machine, put a couple of slugs of copper on it, and now you can go from not liking a certain machine for line work to loving a certain machine for line work. And let me explain that in a pretty trippy theory. A lot of people say, oh, I can only line with a coil. But here's the weird thing. If you've ever felt one of your, like Norm, rest in peace, he made some of the best liners, coil liners ever. All coils, all liners, you can still kind of like thumb the give. Like they all have give, and it was weird because rotaries don't have that. So I, it took me a while to really discover the science behind it. And for the most part, it's not so much that a coil lines better. It's the fact that coils are about 6 to 10 ounces. So you have a heavy machine. There's no bounce off the skin, right? So that's one of the main reasons why some people like coils versus rotaries. And there's a lot of people that can't line with rotaries that if it was just heavier, there'd be thousands of people that all of a sudden can line with rotaries no problem. So yeah.
I got a question actually. Now that you mention that, with people that use the coils and they prefer to use coils for liners, how come we're getting a lot of feedback right now with a lot of traditional artists that actually are using the 5.0 liner?
I thought you'd never ask. That's my last, the last point I wanted to make before we close it out. Time flies sometimes, and we still want to reserve some time for some questions.
And just to let everybody know, we will be answering your questions through the comments, and we'll be reaching out. So please do not fear. We will answer all of your guys' questions.
Your questions matter to us, and we want to get back to you whether we do it live or whether we do it through DM. So 5.0. So now we're gonna end the stroke topic on the 5.0 stroke. A lot of people said it couldn't be done, but it's been done. We've had it out for about a year. It's all that it's cracked up to be. It's all that it's advertised to be. And certainly you do not want to use a 5.0 wand for certain types of pieces. You don't want to do traditional color or portrait color work. You don't want to do single needle work with it. It's an all-around liner for the most part. I tell people, hey, we've had people that can shade with it. We've had people that use it for shading and lining. But primarily, I say just keep it in your drawer and pull it out when you want to do line work. It's a 5.0 stroke, so it's got the biggest swing out of all the other strokes. 4.2, 4.0, 3.5, 3.2, 2.5. 5.0, big stroke. We paired that with a powerful motor, the brushless 2610 Fallhaber German motor. It's an expensive motor. Make no mistake about that. But it's got a lot of power. It's tiny, and that when it's paired with that 5.0 stroke, you're talking some major action. What does that mean in terms of tattooing? Well, that means that when you have a rotary and you normally did not like to line with a rotary, it's because you've never experienced the power of a 5.0 stroke, especially like at 6 volts, 6.5 volts, maybe even 7. You're not going to have a problem packing a 1214 liner, the fattest liner you can think of, the 1209, a 1207, with ease. It just goes in like butter. That's been the feedback, and we're excited. I knew it was going to work good for lining, but I was still nervous, but what are they going to say? Because remember, I build everything for you guys. It doesn't matter what I think. It doesn't matter what I think at all. It matters what you guys think. The feedback has been great, and it's continuing to be great. So if you're one of those people that are struggling with lining with a rotary, and you have your favorite rotaries, but then you have your coil for lining, try the 5.0 wand. If you are, now let me say this, if you are pretty comfortable with rotary machines and you're one of those people that can sort of do it all, right, because they exist too, a major part of the rotary users are sort of in that category, then you don't need to buy a liner. Buy a packer. That's kind of our do-all machine. So if you're familiar with rotary machines, you could line like a champ. Tons of people line like a champ with the packer machine. They do black and gray with it. They do color with it, traditional work. It's kind of your all-around machine. The shader, though, however, remember, it's a little softer, so it's good for portrait buildup, more forgiveness, softer hit. And then the liner, 5.0, it's a beast. Do you guys have any liner questions out there or 5.0 questions out there?
Not any more 5.0, but before we head out for the day, we have a question about some of the Da Vinci needles. So,
okay.
Jesus just received some of his V2s and they were brownish, and he just wanted to know.
Great question. Okay, so I've always loved this rich root beer gold color.
Oh, by the way, they are stocked up on the website.
Goodness gracious.
And we'll be getting that bigger shipment in 3 weeks from now. So you guys check out bishoptattoosupply.com.
Da Vinci V2s are stocked up. Yes. Okay. Do we have a gray one anywhere?
Let me find one real quick while supplies last.
Plop, plop.
Here we go.
Okay. Give me a James. No, that's a gray one.
Oh, is that not the gray?
No.
Oh,
but it's very similar.
I looked at it. Oh, sorry, guys.
No problem.
Hey.
We'll be right back. Hold on a second.
Hold on 1 second there, people. Be one back in here.
Please be gray.
Nope. That's too.
Well,
here.
I checked. Okay, well, I can still explain. This is live. This is impromptu.
Want me to get one of the SMPs?
Yeah, get one of those. Yeah. Actually, you know what? James is going to save the day like he always does. So what I'm going to do? What are we doing right now? We're answering your question.
Difference between the colors.
But this is a question that a lot of people have. So let me answer it. Come on over here, James.
All right.
Okay, so. Hey guys, I just ordered your Da Vinci V2s, and one of my friends in the shop got brown goldish ones, and I got gray ones. What's up? I don't really care, but is there a difference? So here's the difference. We initially started with this brownish gold color. I liked it. And then people kind of got it confused with the Quadrant cartridges, and I never want people to confuse us with any other brand, which is why we put our logo, our name Bishop, our logo on the back. Carlos Torres and I designed this cartridge from head to toe, the whole thing. So
rotate that over so that says Los Angeles.
We'll explain that here in a minute. It says Bishop right there. Oh wait, hold on. There we go.
There we are.
So we went back to our gray. We have a purple membrane. Not in this one. This is a prototype, but we had it just to show you the gray color. And so that's kind of what we have worked with. So if you got the brown ones, that just means you got probably the first shipment. All the newest ones are going to be gray with a purple membrane. And we even stepped it up a notch too. We do value your feedback. So a lot of people said, hey man, I want it to say what number needle it is. So if you're using a 7 mag, they want to see a 7 on there. So we actually put that on some of the newer ones that will be coming out, and I'm going to say about 2.5 months. So about 2.5 months from now, our cartridges will have numbers on them. They'll also be color cap to describe like a bug pin, number 12, like basically like a 0.35, 0.30, 0.25. These are gauge thicknesses of the needles that reflect into like a 0.8 or a 10 or a 12. So you'll be able to basically tell if it's a bug pin or a traditional or a curved mag or a liner, and then it'll have the number that coordinates with what it is, a 7 mag, a 7 liner. So stay tuned for that.
Do we have time for one more question?
Of course we do.
All right, well, we were talking about 5.0s, and Michelle Afonso has a question. Would you ever consider making a 5.0 magnetic cam for the Microangelo?
Yes. So we cannot, there's no room to do it on our current magnetic situation, our current magnetic cam. There's no room. If you have one of those machines and you notice the 4.2, it's almost hanging off. So what we're going to do is create, and we've actually created it. I just have to put it into production because we had to balance it out. But we do have a 5.0 cam that we can put on there, and you can use it. And it's the same cam that we use on the liner. But we change it up a little bit just so it fits and looks good.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully that'll be out in a couple months. Stay tuned for that. That'll be an add-on that you can get. The 5.0. So yeah, 5.0, you guys, it's I don't want to say it's never been done, but very few companies offer a 5.0. It's hard to make, but we figured out the recipe and we're super happy with it. And I know that you guys love it. Certain people that use it, particularly for something special, you guys swear by it. So we appreciate that. We got time for one or two more if you want, James.
Okay, well, actually, I've got Chris Jaden Morales asking, what voltage do you feel is proper for color packing with the Microangelo? He just got it and wants to just kind of inquire on this real quick.
Okay, color packing on that one would be, you could probably try it at 7.
Okay.
Try it at 7. It all depends on your hand speed too, guys. Hand speed has everything to do with it. The faster your hand speed is, the higher your voltage will be. The slower your hand speed is, the lower your voltage will be. A good example of that is one of my favorite humans and artists is Boris.
Dude, the computer.
He uses like 5. I think he does like 5 volts, super slow, and he's like, Franco, look, you can get tattoos done faster this way. And I've seen him. We did he helped on a collaboration that Nico and I were doing, and I watched him do it. It was really crazy. So. Yeah, if you have slow hand speed, you can have a slower voltage. It's all about the parallel of those two and how they understand how they work together, because they do relate to one another. So if you understand how to work with that, then experiment with different voltages and hand speeds. But ultimately, if you're a medium, I'll answer your question in particular. If you have like a medium hand speed, try it at 7 volts. If you want a little bit more power, bump it up to like 7.3, maybe 7.5. See what you think.
Okay. I think we got one more, and I think this is a good one.
Okay.
When are the engraved wands?
Hernan. Okay, so we got Hernan doing a set. And
Should I go pull one so we can see it?
You might as well.
Might as well.
So we have Hernan, our dear friend Hernan, engraving some. And then we have Mr. Mark.
Mark Dupp is a...
If you guys
Stay tuned.
So Mark Dupp, MarkDupp, look him up. Engrave it, Engraveit. Those two are the ones that are engraving right now. So this is kind of what, not kind of, but this is exactly what the Engrave It version will look like. And we want to make these affordable, so we have some that it's just the ring. Then we have some where it's the ring and the cap. And I think we have like 1 or 2 where it's the whole machine. And that's for, cartel members. And, Instagram famous tattoo artists. But yeah, it's a pretty cool thing that they barely ever get released because these things are hand engraved. If any of you know about hand engraving, it takes a long time. They're all hand done. So yeah. As soon as we get them, we will let you guys know.
You just have to be looking out on social media, because when those get announced, they're guaranteed.
They disappear so fast. I mean, because there's only like 10 or 15 at the very most that we release at a time. And I'm always telling these guys, hey, I will buy as many as you guys want to engrave. I'll keep you busy forever if you can. Just engrave. And so yeah, stay tuned. When they're released, act quick because they're going to be gone. So...
All right, yep. Chief. Well, I think that'll be it. We got Taki Pata just saying thanks for sharing wisdom and greetings from Berlin.
Always. And guys, look, this is it's. I love doing this. I love talking about tattoo techniques. I love giving out the knowledge that I've learned over the years. I came from an old school where they didn't give you that knowledge, And you know what? You guys still have to apply it. So you still have to apply that knowledge. If I'm talking about certain things, you still got to go put in the work. And the more work you put in, the better you're going to be. So I'm simply showing you, where the lake is, but you got to go fish. You got to go spend time on the lake, put many hours in to catch what you need in life. So I love doing this. Send us all the James. How can they send us questions?
Well, we have questions. You can send them to our IG DM, but we also have our Facebook group. We want to definitely let you guys know out there for the community. It's a community of Bishop users and Bishop supporters, and so it's a great little kind of think tank campus that people kind of get together, meet, and kind of talk about different products all things Bishop.
Fun stories and tattoos that are done with the machines and stuff. But in general, look, we love doing this. We're going to continue to do it. It's our goal to educate you guys and girls. We're going to educate you tattoo artists to learn all the things you guys want to know about tattooing.
Alrighty,
So,
Frankie.
Thank you.
Well, so we're going to look at probably doing this next week? Quite possibly.
Let me think about it for a second. Hold on. Probably, yes. Probably, yes. So next Friday, stay tuned. There may be some times where we skip. We might be traveling, hopefully, if they allow us to, once this stuff ends. And again, stay safe, everyone. Don't feed into fear. Don't go crazy and overboard. Stay safe. Nobody wants to get sick. Stay tuned. Next Friday, we'll do another topic. In the meantime, submit your questions. And I will see you next Friday.
And we will be answering those questions, you guys. Thanks again for tuning in on Fridays with Franco.
Thank you for your support.
You all have a beautiful weekend. And remember, if nobody loves you...
He's not lying.
Go. Got you.